I did promise at the start of the stream that we would do a tier list. We're going to do a tier list. I don't know how long it's going to take. There's not that many units to cover here, but we're going to be doing a tier list on all the fusion units. We're going to cover each of these units. I'm going to rank them where I think they should be ranked. You guys can also give your opinions in the chat. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's do it. And if there's anybody that I miss, please let me know. But I think I have them all here. So the fusion tier list. We're going to start this tier list with Mr. Sigmarus over here. Now, this tier list is also based on just generalization, like generally in the game, not specifically for one part of the game. So it's just like everything that comes together. So like if they're a D rank in something and an S rank in something else, then that would kind of, you know, go to the middle, right? They would be like a B rank in that scenario. But I'm just going to do my best to give my personal opinion on it. You guys have the opportunity to kind of persuade me in a certain direction. But for the most part, I think I have a pretty good understanding of what everything should be ranked. But all right, first up here, we got Sigmarus. Now, Sigmarus isn't really something that anybody recommends to fuse right away, but it is pretty decent in some scenarios early on in the game. For example, it's not bad for giants. It's not bad for dragons. It's pretty good for TOA. It's pretty good for arena, RTA. Not like super good, right? It's got kind of low base speed. Let me check the base speed on it. Yeah, 98% base speed. But it's decent. I would say Sigmarus all around is a pretty decent fusion unit. And I think I would rank him somewhere around here. Like, I just think he's B rank in most things in the game. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? I think B rank is pretty fair. And then up next, we got Katarina. Now, Katarina is one of those units where she is just straight up a D rank when it comes to anything other than PvP for the most part. I would say the only other thing that's not PvP that she's good in is raids. She can be pretty good for raids if you put her in like the BJ R5 team to help kill the boss really fast. But as far as like PvP goes, she's all right, but not really like worth building. Like, I would say especially for Guild Wars a little bit better, because she attacks I think 4 times with her third ability and ignores defense as long as she has invincibility. So that could be pretty good, especially if you compare it against like a Lucian who just ignores defense with no requirements. The Lucian is sometimes not better, because if you're attacking into like something like a Triana, you're going to trigger her passive. She's going to be able to, you know, get a turn in between, heal potentially. Whereas Katarina, you can just snipe the Triana first and then hit the other units. But I think with all things considered, she's like a C rank for a fusion unit. It's decent, but it's not like something that you should, or that you're going to want to build right away. Especially for newer players, I think you just ignore Katarina. You could even argue that she's D rank, but I think C rank is fair enough for Katarina. Sig can be good in Fire Beast Rift. I just realized that I do not have the chat on the screen. That would be nice to have, wouldn't it? We're going to try to get this up real quick before we carry on with the tier list. Yeah, that should be good. All right. People use her in PvP. Yeah, I think that's like her main use is in PvP. Siege specifically. And also, she's an RNG heavy unit because she's randomly attacking other units on her third skill. But that also kind of adds to the fun of using her. Like, she's a fun unit to use. And She ignores defense with a condition, of course. But yeah, I think C rank's pretty fair. We missing Suki? Oh, never mind. Yeah, we have Suki here. All right, let's move on to Balegyr, however you want to pronounce it. This guy is basically only good for 2 things in the game. But those 2 things that he's good for, he's really good for. So obviously raids. He has a team that's literally centered around him. The BJR5. S tier when it comes to that. Am I lagging? Looks like I'm lagging. Sorry, technical difficulties. Alright, so he is a S rank in raids. And he's also, I would say, S rank in Labyrinth, the wind boss stage. But besides that, he's pretty much useless. He can be used as a farmer, which doesn't really matter, right? Like, there's a million units that you can use as farmers. As far as Karos dungeons, he's not good for anything really. Maybe Necro. But I would probably give him a spot above Katarina, C rank. Because I just think when you compare him to something like Sigmarus, if you build Sigmarus, you can use Sigmarus in multiple different areas in the game. Whereas these 2, they're only used in very specific areas, and they're very niche. So I think he's a C tier fusion unit for that reason. All right, now moving on to Jeanne. Now, you guys know I've been using Jeanne a ton in the series, and I think she's a really good unit. However, she's not good for any Karos dungeons, but she is good for pretty much everything else. Everything besides that, she's really good at. For example, she's good in TOA normal, hard, and hell mode. She's good at Guild Wars, Guild War defense, arena offense, arena defense, RTA. But the question is she S tier or A tier in most of that stuff? So I'd say TOA, she's S tier. Guild Wars, also questionably S tier. But I think because of the fact that she's not that good for Karos dungeons, well, she's not good at all. She's literally a D tier in Karos. I'd have to give her A rank. Yeah, A overall. Borderlands agrees. Yeah, definitely an A tier unit. Trying to think anything else that she's good at. Not really. I would say she's arguably A tier when it just comes to PvP overall. Yeah, A tier. Yeah, solid ranking for her, I think. All right, now moving on to the man, Veromos. This goes without saying. Instant S tier. This guy is a must build fusion unit. And it's not even a question. I think that he is the fusion unit. And there's only one other unit on this tier list that even comes remotely close, which we'll get to later on once we get to him. And you can make an argument between the both of them. But what you can't argue is that they're both the top S tier fusion units. And the reason Veromos, in my opinion, is the best fusion unit is because he's literally good at every part of the game except for Necro. And not only is he good at every part in the game, he's at the very least A tier in every part of the game. Giants, S tier. Dragons, S tier. TOA, A or S tier. PvP, A tier. And when you look at his kit, he's got a good HP leader skill. He's tanky. He now deals a lot of damage against bosses, so he's a damage dealer with his second skill. He also applies dots. He's a cleanser. He's a healer. He increases his own attack bar. He literally does everything. So yeah, without a doubt, triple S, 100%. All right, moving on. We got Zheng Fei. This is another one of those units I feel like, and I want to say he belongs here in the C tier. But I don't know exactly where I would place him. Maybe you can argue that he's B tier. But when you break him down, he's really only good for, when it comes to Karos dungeons, he's really only good for Necro. Which he's just good for like a safe, slow Necro team. He's a cleanser. He's alright on defense. Not really used at all in RTA. Good for very niche things that require multi-hits. Yeah, he's, I think, another one of those units where he belongs in the C tier for the same reason as the rest of them. Yeah, you're right. He can also be good for R5. He's a good frontline R5 monster. He also has the 33% defense leader skill, which helps out with your first R5 team. He's not good for speed, though. He's just there to kind of fill in a couple of slots and a couple of roles. And I would say he's above these two, because if you're thinking about fusing them and you're like, okay, which one of these should I fuse next? I would go with this guy before these two, because he's going to, at the point in the game where you're starting to fuse things, he's going to fill the roles that you probably need next, like a safe Necro team and a safe R5 team. These ones are more about speed. They're good for later game. But yeah, that's why I would put him above these two. All right, then moving on. Here we go. I honestly want to put her here. I do. I really do. She is the mother of wasting our time. But the truth is, she's an S tier fusion unit. The honest truth. She... Man, like, I really want to drop her down to A tier at the very least. But it's so hard to argue against it. It's so hard. Like, she stalls, she heals, she's basically just a better Fran. She's technically good for Giants, but only for like a slow safe team. So she's like slowing down your Giants team, but makes it safer. Good for TOA as a healer. S tier in RTA. S tier as a defense unit in either arena defense or guild war defense. Yeah, you guys are saying S. Unfortunately, she's an S tier unit. You should build her before any of these other units below her. I should have built her by now on this account. On my free-to-play account here. But she'll most likely be the next one once we get to it. Alright, and then moving on to the last Nat 5 fusion unit. We have the Dark Dakabi Lord. Where would I rate this guy? He's another unit where he's not good at any dungeons. He's not going to help you out in dungeons at all. He's not good for TOA. He can be decent for raids, I think, as like a frontline tank. But his main use is Guild Wars, defense, and RTA. But the thing is that he's like A or S tier in what he's good at. In all three of those things I just mentioned. So he definitely drops a point because he's not good for any dungeons. So say we had him at S tier, we'll drop him down to A tier. Now, how good is he though at what he does? I want to say, oh man, I really don't know, because he's kind of like the same as Jeanne here, where they're both not good at doing dungeons. But at least Jeanne is good at TOA. And she's really good at TOA. But yeah, this guy just straight up doesn't help you out in any sort of farming thing in the game. So I think he's even B tier. But is he better than Sigmarus? I don't know. It really is hard to say. See, more of a monster for mid game. Still have no idea what he does. Yeah, he's like a cleanser. He's tanky. He provides branding. He strips. I think we're going to leave him here for now. Like, I do think he's better than these units. Just because of how good he is for defense and for RTA and stuff. But a lot of this is... we could potentially change it at the end. Like, we'll go back to it. We'll make sure everything looks good. But I think for now, we'll leave him right here behind Sigmarus. And we'll move on. So now we're on to the Nat 4s. We have a bunch of Nat 4s here. You guys can't see the entire list. But it is almost the entire list. Only missing 3 other units. Alright, so the first one we have is the 9-tailed fox. The Wind 9-tailed fox. This unit has a leader skill of 40% attack, or is it 50% attack? Let's confirm this. I don't want to give wrong information. 40% attack for wind units only, which is really good in the Rift Beasts. If you're going up against the water beast, or the ice beast, I mean. That 40% additional attack helps out a lot if you're running a full wind team. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure about her. Like, I don't use her a lot. That leader skill is good. She's got 3 hits on her first skill, so she can be used for Necro if you need to use her for that. She's got a defense break on her 3rd skill. Let's take another look at her. Deals additional damage with her 3rd skill if the enemy's under harmful effects. So another reason she's good for getting a really high score in the Ice Beast. She steals beneficial effects. She heals herself. Provides branding. All around, her kit is pretty solid. Decent base speed, nothing spectacular. Attack type unit. I don't know. Where would you guys rank her? I don't think she's D tier. Definitely not D tier. Good for giants, but she does have the multi-hit on her first skill. But at least the brands. Kaiser says C tier. Yeah, I think she's C tier. I would put her above Katarina and Balegyr, though. I really would. And honestly, maybe even Fang. It's hard to say. Because she's a 4-star fusion unit, which we also have to take into consideration. These are easier to make, easier to fuse for skill ups. And I just think she provides a lot. Decent in PvP, I guess. Not something you're really going to build her for, though. Oh, man. Yeah, I think right here is good enough. Yeah, it's not terrible. All right, and then up next, we got the Water Samurai. Let's take a look at his kit again. All right, Water Samurai. It's like the same as the other ones, where he has that chance to proc into his 4th ability that ignores beneficial effects. This one attacks the enemy 2 times, decreasing their attack bar. So single target hit, increase attack speed. It's another unit I don't really use a lot, so it's hard for me to say and hard for me to rank this unit. But it's kind of the similar as the other ones in what he can do. Single target focus can be good for dragons, can be good for giants, can even be decent for RTA and arena PvP in general. If you build him on despair, it could be good for TOA. I don't know. I think just above. Is he better? No. So I'm actually going to have the 9-tailed in front of him, because the 9-tailed fox is also really good for raids. Kaiser says, honestly, more like B- for new players. That's the problem. Is it a tier list for new players or overall? So we're doing overall. Just overall in general. Everything that they're good at, where would you condense them into? I just think it's another C-tier unit. C-tier fusion unit. Nothing spectacular. All right, up next, we got the Fire Joker. This guy now strips with his 3rd ability and applies dots. This makes him even better for TOA. This makes him good as a stripper for your arena offense team. He also applies bombs, so you could use him as a bomber. I think this guy's really good. And honestly, yeah, I think I put him right here. B tier, low B tier, but our first 4-star that gets the B tier. I think he's really underrated, especially if you don't have a Rika. I think he can kind of fill that role pretty good. If you don't have a bomb team, we might end up building him on this account, on our free-to-play account. But yeah, I think just based off of what he can do, let me see what his leader skill is. Defense leader skill in dungeons. He's not really used for dungeons though, except if you want to use him for the Hall of Light, I guess. But besides that, yeah, he's kind of a pointless leader skill. Decent speed. Yeah, I think low B rank is fair enough for him. Joker B sounds good. Yeah. All right, then up next we got Suki. We were just talking about him earlier. Suki is like the rest of them, where he doesn't crit, but he deals just base damage. He gets stronger as more turns pass. He can be used to solo things. He can be used to cleave things. Not terrible in dungeons. He can actually be used there for both giants, dragons. Not really necro, except for his first skill, which isn't really that great for it. Decent for TOA if you want to throw him on despair. I think he's either low A rank or high B rank. Better than win, but not a cocky. Yeah. Saying B rank, I can get behind that. I think he's so far the highest B rank. Not a bad unit to fuse. All of the Anubis are pretty solid in most parts of the game. Like I said, they have solo potential. So they can just straight up win you a match, or you know, if your team's about to fail in like Kara's Dungeon or something, they can come in clutch. But all right, moving on from him. Next, we got Baretta, the Fire Sylph. This guy used to be one of the top fusible units. He comes with a speed leader skill of 19%, which can be good if you're trying to get your Lucian team down with a speed leader. This guy's speed leader is universal, so it could help out with that. Good for TOA, applies the dots. Used to be good in Karos dungeons before the dots got nerfed. So now he's no longer really that good for Karos dungeons in general. Also not really a unit that gets used in any sort of PvP unless you're using him for his leader skill, like I said. Kaiser Saint B, to be honest, I don't think he's B tier anymore. I think he's C. Yeah, I'd give him C rank, but where in C rank would I place him? Honestly, right here, and only because of his leader skill. I think without the leader skill, he would be either here or here. But yeah, we'll give him this just for the leader skill. And up next, we have another speed leader skill with Susano. Now, Susano also has a passive, so he's kind of an RNG-based unit. Sometimes he's like unstoppable. Other times he just gets hit once or twice and dies. But overall, really, really solid counter if your opponent is going heavy into a fire team. You pick a Susano, they're gonna struggle with trying to kill him. You throw him onto vampire runes, and he's gonna be kind of like Suki over here, where he can just solo the entire team. The speed lead is huge, 30% for water type. And he's also pretty solid for dragons. If you need another damage dealer and attack bar reducer for dragons, he can do that. Not great for it, but you know, he can fill that role. You can put him on your backline in raids. He's not the best. There's better options, but he can still do that. But yeah, I would say he's more of a PvP unit. He's also extremely good for 4-star and below siege battles. And then he becomes extremely good for 4-star and below special league. So I would say he's either in front or just behind Suki. I think I'm going to put him just behind for now. But yeah, I think that's fair enough. All right, now moving on. We got the Wind Vampire. This guy has received a couple of buffs. He's now a bit of a different unit than what he used to be. I'll bring him back up because I honestly have never built him, but I know that he's good. All right, so he comes with a resistance leader skill for dungeons. Who the hell cares about this? This is basically nothing. Same leader skill, or same first skill. Second skill, same as the water one. If you ever use the water one, attack break, speed break, and prevents them from receiving beneficial effects. It's pretty decent for some things. And then this ability, Death Blow. Let me just read this again so I know exactly what it does. Attacks 3 times, so already pretty good for Necro if you want to use him for Necro. 30% chance to leave a branding effect and grant beneficial blocks for 2 turns. The damage increases by 25% for each harmful effect on the enemy. So also really good for... Let's just go find it real fast. Steel Fortress. Really good in Steel Fortress. Really good also in Rift of Worlds. You can use him as a backline damage dealer for R5. You can use him against the Ice Beast to deal more damage, land a lot of debuffs when the boss is knocked down. Not really used in PvP too often. You don't really see him. He can also be used... Where'd he go? He could also be used for... Already forgot what I was going to say. Got distracted. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, where would I put him? Maybe here. It's hard to say though, because he's not really good for PvP. I was gonna say Giants, but for Giants he has multi-hits, so it's not great, but he does prevent the boss from getting attack buff, which is really good. So if you want to use him for Giants, he's also a good damage dealer on top of that. There is better options, but he is an option. I think I would give him so far the highest C tier. Yeah, highest C tier seems fair. Alright, then moving on, we got Water Undine. The Water Undine is a reviver. Freezes on her first skill. Heals on her second ability. AoE damage, so you can put her on Despair if you want. Have that chance to stun the entire enemy team, which can also be good in TOA. Not really good or useful in anything other than 4-star and below battles, to be completely honest. So I think she might be our first D tier fusion unit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give her D tier. Even though I did make a video on her convincing you guys to build her, she can be good in very specific niche areas. But overall, as a fusion unit, I would have to put her in D tier. And now we got the Wind Kung Fu Girl. Let's take a look at her again. Here we go. Comes with a arena accuracy leader skill. Pretty solid, 40%. Defense break on the first skill. That can go into the second skill. That can go into the third skill. She is great for Necro. She's great for raids. She can be decent for Giants. What does this one do again exactly? Prevents from receiving. Okay, she's also really great for the I always forget the name of it, the one that we just looked back at, the fortress, the steel fortress. Great for that, especially with the accuracy leader skill. You can use her for that. So yeah, overall really good at PvP. Sorry, not PvP, PvE. Really good at PvE. A lot of talking going on today. I can't I can't think now. Too much talking. All right, so really good for a lot of PvE areas. Okay in PvP. Okay for 4-star and below. Solid. I think overall, not bad. Overall, pretty good. I think right here is fair enough. Lowest B tier. Actually, I don't think that's fair. I think she should go up here. I think she's better than Sigmarus. Overall, you're gonna find more usefulness out of her than you would with Sigmarus, because Sigmarus gets replaced eventually. He's good at doing a couple different things, but eventually he gets replaced. Whereas this unit, you can build her and she's not gonna get replaced for the Steel Fortress. And yeah, wherever else you plan on using her, she's pretty solid for. All right, now moving on to Water Horus. We're coming to the end here. A few more left. All right, Water Horus. Water Horus can be used as a gimmick attack dealer. With his second ability, dealing damage based off his attack speed, you can make him super fast, and which gives you the opportunity to either use his third ability to give invincibility on something like Katarina. Also buffs attack and crit rate of your entire team. Pushes back attack bar, slows down the enemy team. Really good unit, really underrated unit. As far as PvP or PvE goes, not really that useful. Like can be used in TOA. Don't really ever see him used anywhere else besides that. Good for Guild Wars, and can be really good for PvP or for RTA if you use him properly. But I think with like the general consensus of this guy, C tier. I think he's C tier. And I think I would put him right here. Right in front of the Ninetailed. Because he has more of a use in RTA, which is late game. Yeah, but this one has a lot of use in PvE. I don't know. Okay, he's getting dropped down, actually. Slowly getting dropped down. I'd put him right here. I think he's fine right here. Summoners War servers down on global, getting a failed to connect. Anyone on global can connect, or is it just me? I don't know, guys. Is global server down right now? Probably has something to do with rush hour. I know, rush hour was only on EU. I'm losing it. I'm starting to lose it. I just realized that I ignored most 4-star units in early game the second I get a subtle 5-star. It's usually what happens. Half of the fusion monsters, I don't even know what they do. Is Summoners War not working for anyone else? Okay, yeah, it looks like it is down. On EU servers, everything works fine. Yeah, I guess global is down right now. Unlucky. All right, moving on to the Fire Harp Magician. Now, the Fire Harp Magician is a unit I've brought up a couple times during the free-to-play series. It's a unit that I really am thinking about building for RTA specifically. Also, really good for Guild Wars. Like, I would even say A or S tier for Guild Wars. She kind of balances out like your team if you're going up against somebody that's got way better runes than you. Like, for example, she's like the comeback unit, the comeback healing unit, support unit. So if you get sniped, like say they try to snipe her, you have her on Nemesis, she can then transfer her health and, you know, swap the health of you and the person that attacked you and potentially come back from the match. As far as PvE, she's basically useless. Wouldn't really use her for anywhere in PvE that I can think of right now. So only a PvP heavy unit, but I think she's really good in PvP. So for that reason, I'm going to put her right behind the Dockaby Lord. Because they're both kind of similar. I would still recommend building the Dockaby Lord over her, but she's like a close second to him. If you want to build both of them together, that's also not a bad idea. But that's where the Fire Harp Magician is being ranked. All right, and now we finally got to that unit that I was talking about when we were talking about Veromos. Verdehile is the other triple S tier fusion unit, without a question. And we've debated this before on my live stream, whether Veromos or Verdehile is the #1 fusion unit. And I think it somewhat comes down to preference, but they're both basically good everywhere in the game. Not only good, but at least A tier rank everywhere in the game. Verdehile obviously doesn't provide all the different things that Veromos does, which is why I give Veromos the edge. And also Veromos's leader skill is universal. However, Verdehile's is specifically really good for a lot of PvE parts of the game. Definitely getting above Riley. Verdehile doesn't waste your time. Verdehile tries to get things done quickly. but also they sometimes get paired together, which is a super annoying combo. Yeah, but if you think about it, the only spot he's really not good for is giants. But besides the giants, everything else he's good at. PvP, arena defense, Guild Wars, Guild War defense, Necro, dragons, all the other side Karos dungeons that nobody really does. Yeah, TOA, everything. Without a question. And it's really up to, like I said, your preference of which one you think is better. But I personally think Veromos is better. Also, Verdehile is easier to fuse. But not really, because they kind of give you everything you need to fuse Veromos during Summoner's Way. But yeah, these are the top 2 units by far. Alright, up next we have the Wind Lapis. I don't know her name. We're going to call her the Wind Lapis. This is another underrated unit. People forget about her a lot. She's pretty good in Giants. Pretty good in TOA. Good in Necro. Can be used in Guild Wars and RTA and Arena if you want. I would say there's better options, of course, but can be used there. I think overall, she's a solid B tier. Nat 4. And I would put her... I'd put her right here. I think she's like around mid of B tier. Ahead of these Nat 5s and these other Nat 4s here. And we have 3 more to go through here. We already did this guy. I accidentally put him back in here. So we just have these last 3 here. Next one up, we have Melia, the Wind Dryad. This used to be an A tier unit. But then, of course, Comtuos went ahead, buffed all the dungeons up so you can't dot them down. Which means she is pretty much useless for all dungeons now. And the only thing she really has a use in is TOA. And she's pretty solid in TOA. But there's also a lot of units that kind of do the same thing. Still good in TOA hard. Yeah, but that's literally it. It's literally just TOA hard, and that's it. You're saying B tier? I'd have to disagree. I think Melia now, like, if you want to use her as a new player to get through dungeons with dot teams, you can do that, but I don't know. I think pretty much becomes, yeah, low C. Like, she is really good in TOA still. Is she better than Balegyr? I think I'm giving her the lowest C rank. Yeah, I think she gets the lowest C rank, honestly. You know what? Because she's so good. It's so hard to say. Yeah, I'm leaving her there. I'm leaving her there unless somebody has a good opinion or a better opinion on this. But if you just think about it, she's literally good for nothing else. She's not good for PvP at all. Yeah. Not even mad. Yeah. Melia just got nerfed to the ground. She just simply became a food fusion unit for the other units. Alright, moving on to the last 2 here. We have the Water Neostone Agent. Another unit I've never really built, never really used. She does a bubble on the whole team. She provides a deep defense buff, reduces attack bar on the first skill, and provides somebody with a instant turn, I believe, on her second ability. Let me just confirm. Everything is correct. Okay, also comes with a guild resistance leader skill, which can be decent for Guild Wars. Glancing hit on the first ability. Okay, so it hits 2 times, glancing hit. Thought it was attack bar pushback. Okay, and then the second ability removes a beneficial effect. And this one decreases the attack bar. Oh no, increases your team's attack bar. Yeah, so clearly I don't really have a set opinion on this unit yet. Like I said, I don't really use her. She seems pretty good. Like, she'll make any of your teams safe for dungeons. Seems pretty good for dragons as well. Great for guild wars. What else though? RTA seems like she can be used potentially. She's got this to, like, if you make her really fast, you could do this, which will give you a turn. The rest of your team a turn. I don't really know. Like, just based off of looking at her and what she can do, I think I would have to give her like a high B tier. Yeah, like maybe right here. Good for Labyrinth final boss. Really? Yeah, I guess so. The defense buff, the healing, the shield. I almost want to say she's like the best B tier unit, or maybe even A tier. I don't know. I would have a much better opinion if I actually used this one before. So I'm going to let you guys rank her. Where do you think she should be ranked? And while we're doing that, I'm going to move on to the last unit here, the Fire Succubus, who also got a buff recently. Let's take a look at her kit. And I think I'm actually missing this one as well. I didn't do this one. Where is she at? Come on, there's not that many units to look at. All right. Also has the accuracy leader skill, can sleep, can remove beneficial effects and sleep into applying other harmful effects. Also reduces the enemy's cooldown time. Really good control unit. Great for TOA if you're running a sleep team. Pretty solid overall. Doesn't help out really in any PvE areas, but is really solid when it comes to PvP content. I think she's like right here. It kind of makes sense too. You have the Fire Joker go, strip the entire enemy team, and then she goes next to reset all their skills. That's how I would use her. B, not an A. Okay, we're going B. I think right here sounds about right. B for the Water Neostone agent. Budget Zyros. That is true. Yeah, she's a budget Zyros. And the accuracy leader skill makes it so you don't have to really have that good of accuracy. Yeah, and then the final one we have here, we're actually going to use it as a one of these guys. The Yeji and Sapzir. Sapri. We're going to call it Zapri. Zapri also has the same leader skill, just 10% less. Lot to read here. Defense break on the second skill, AoE defense break, and then gives immunity for 2 turns, and increases the chance of landing a critical hit for 2 turns. So increases crit rate, and the same effects are granted for 3 turns for fire monsters. So specifically for fire monsters, this unit is a little bit better. And specifically really only good for one part of the game. And the part of the game that she is good for is this one here. But you really don't have to build her. She makes it safer, but you could just use Seek. Seek kind of does a similar thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You can use it as a AoE defense breaker. Better options, of course. I don't know. I think I'd give this also a D tier. Yeah, Sappy gets a D tier. Never used her, exactly. Pretty much don't build these two that are in the D tier. By the way, this is not Wind Vampire. It's Sappy. This is the Wind Vampire. Just want to clarify that. Make sure everyone is understanding of that when you're looking at this. But here you go. Here is the definitive fusion tier list. Do you think we should change anything? What do you guys think of it? We managed to only have one unit in A tier, so we could bump somebody else up to A tier to try to make it look a little bit more even. We gave a lot of units B tier. Only 3 S tier units. I think these are without a question though. These are just straight up S tier. Jeanne is definitely A tier. These bottom 2 are definitely D tier. And it really just, it's about these middle units that, I don't know. Some of them could maybe be switched around. How are you still in the game? I'm on Europe server. That's how. That's the problem with most of them. Someone does the same, but better. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, if somebody does the same but better, but that unit is like a specific Nat 5 unit that's going to be hard to get, then they become more useful for that reason. Looks fine to me. Same says Borderlands. Alright guys, this is the list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I might do another one next stream. Maybe with free-to-play units, maybe with secret dungeons. I don't know. I would really have to prepare an entire stream if we're gonna do like something with a lot more units than this. But this is about as easy as it's gonna get when it comes to ranking a certain amount of units in the game. It's not that many fusion units, but still a good amount. SD sounds good. Yeah, SD could definitely be a good one to do. Or Third Awakening. Yeah, Third Awakening could be good.